Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast, episode number 99. Julie McQueen and Daniel Lee Martin from Brotherhood Outdoors TV. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
This is Lane Benoit, Master Tracker. You're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Hey, everybody, this is Jim Snow from the Euro Hangar. You're listening to my number one podcast of all time, Jay and Dusty on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast.
Hey, this is Doug Castrava from the Horny Buck Seed Company, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Welcome to the show. This is Jay Scott, your host of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast. Guess who else is with me tonight?
Yo, 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 it's Dusty Phillips in the house. What's happening, Jay?
Dusty Phillips, the Buckeye. What's happening? It's kind of middle of the turkey hunting season, and I can't help but start thinking about deer hunting. As usual. I don't know if I ever stop thinking about either one, to be honest.
You know, man, I have to agree.
I think here's kind of my life, right, in a nutshell. A little bit of work. And this is my brain thoughts. A little bit of work, a lot of deer hunting, little bit of vacation here and there, a lot of kid stuff, a lot of baseball, a little bit of whiskey and beer mixed in there, and nice. A lot of turkey hunting, and maybe a little bit of work. But that's basically all I think about all year long.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of work in there. I don't get that.
Well, I got to work to produce the show. You know?
Yeah, I got to work too.
Yeah.
Working's good. I'm all good for working.
Well, I think I'm not a big fan of work. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's kind of like a labor of love.
Yeah, agreed. But, you know, it's one of the things where you got to work, you know, and you got to pay the bills. The dogs got to eat.
Right.
You got to buy the tree stands, the bows, the arrows, the camouflage. All that stuff costs a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
And then you got to put the gas in the truck to get to the tree stand. Then you got to get all your equipment. Man, it adds up. So you got to work to cover all that. And maybe someday we'll podcast full time and we'll hunt and live a dream.
Yeah. But before we get there, if you are a listener of the show and you'd like to pledge the show itself, we have opened up a pledge page. It's at www.bigbuckregistry.com/pledge. And you can just like a pledge on, public radio or public television. You can pledge per show. You can say how much you want to donate to the cause for every show you listen to. That's available right now as we're speaking. That's a great place to go if you're a fan of the show. Also, if you have like an outdoor product or something you want to get or broadcast it out to hundreds of thousands of big buck deer hunting enthusiasts, and you're a listener of the show, I would strongly recommend that you check out bigbuckregistry.com/sponsor. We do have sponsors starting to come in, and I'd really like to, I don't like to say no, but at some point we have to cut it off. We have to say, can't take you anymore. We have those slots filled. So I would say get in now if you want that slot to be taken up for the next 6 months, basically. That sound right, Dusty?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely filling up. And if you have a product that you want to get advertised with us, the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast, we would love to have all the products. But like you said, we're going to have only a certain amount of slots that we can fill. And you better get on it because they're filling up pretty quick. People are wanting to be advertised right here with us. And, we're honored that people are wanting to team up with us.
Absolutely. And, what's interesting about today's guest is that they're making a living doing this. And we've visited this topic before, where people make a living doing what they love, which is hunting. And they're doing it on television, in this case, the Sportsman's Channel. And I think it's very cool. And, now and then we just meet some interesting people that come from very interesting backgrounds that you wouldn't really have put together, but they end up being full-time professional hunters, basically.
This one might blow your mind a little bit.
Yeah. Our guests today, Julie McQueen and Daniel Lee Martin. Now get this. Julie used to be a fashion model in Europe. She made a living doing this. And Daniel was a music star, making a living doing that. And as they're getting a little older in their lives, they've kind of gotten past that phase. And now they've got a television show about hunting.
Amazing.
Now, would you ever have thought that a fashion model, a European fashion model, would be in the hunting industry, much less in the field hunting game?
Well, Jay, as much as I love hunting, I can see a whole lot of different aspects coming to the hunting world.
That's exactly right.
It's it's one of them things where it's very rewarding, it's very pleasurable, and it's putting organic meat on the table.
Right. Now get this. Not only was Julie a fashion model, but she has also been a professional poker player on the poker tour. She's a psychologist. She has two degrees in psychology, and she's an airplane pilot.
Crazy, right?
Crazy.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. So she's one tough chick, to be honest. I mean, she's thick-skinned, like a lot of the women in the industry need to be, because they, for whatever reason, and we talk about this a little bit with Julie, they seem to be the target of anti-sentiments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anti-hunting people seem to attack lady hunters a lot more than they attack guy hunters. I don't quite get it, but Julie kind of explains that a little bit in our interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things where all the antis want to chase after the women hunters, and good luck to them. Most of the women hunters are way more stronger willed than the guy hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they're doing it, but they picked a bad target. I'm just point blank. It's a bad target.
Crazy.
They're tough. They're just as tough as any guy. So
and maybe that the antis don't understand that the ladies are, they're really tough when it comes to the hunting industry, and they stick together, and they're a band of sisters that you're not going to mess with them.
Right. And Dan is just one of the funniest human beings on the planet. We had some good laughs during the talk, and then we have a special guest caller that are friends of Dan and Julie's, and he just adds to the show. Just awesome. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you got to listen later on.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. We hope everybody enjoys, and thank you for tuning in with us.
Yeah.
Another great week here, and we're going to get this show started, Jay.
Yep, another great week here at the Big Buck Registry. So let's get Dan and Julie on the air. Julie and Dan, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast. How are you?
Well, good. Thank you for having us. We're great.
We're excited about it. Yeah.
You're excited. I like that. See,
welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. You're off to a good start.
Excited to share our story for sure.
So in the pre-chat, pre-show, you told me that you're not quite sure where in the country you are. Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah, we have to use our maps on our phones to figure out what state we're in. We've been on the road for about 3 weeks because, it's turkey season. So we headed out west, and we've been chasing Merriam's, and we started off at the Easterns. And at this point, I think like a lot of people in our industry, we have no idea where we're at.
You know what I like doing? We're actually at a campground right now. I like being here for about an hour and sticking my head out the door and asking the neighbor what state we're in. Hey, you know where we are? You just kind of,
I've done that. I've done that in Virginia. I think I asked the neighboring campsite, "Hey, what state are we in again?"
Yeah,
it's a daily thing for us.
Yeah.
So you're traveling all over the country doing some turkey hunting. Is that what you said?
Yeah. We drive pretty much everywhere we go. So we started off our turkey season in Georgia, which is easy for us because we live in Tennessee. But then some friends of ours who are also, they're all on the Sportsman channel also, and a big group of people get out in Montana together up in the Missouri River Breaks.
Yep.
And they invited us to their turkey camp. So we thought, well, why don't we just drive out there, which is, only a 23-hour drive for us.
Yeah, only.
So we did that, and then we ended up in South Dakota, and then we stayed the night in Nebraska last night, and now we're in Kansas.
Yeah. Or Missouri.
Missouri, sorry. Wrong state. I have no idea where I'm at.
Well, what are you driving?
Well, we drive a truck, a F-250, a Ford,
Okay.
and behind it, we actually pull the biggest fifth wheels that we could find. We are I think we're about the size of a semi-truck going down the road right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Subarus step aside, right?
Yeah.
We've got one with a big toy hauler in the back. It's we carry our kayaks. If we're not carrying our kayaks, we carry our Rhino, one of our UTVs, and we just consider it a mudroom. It's a real nice thing to have when you spend 95% of your life in the outdoors. It's a nice mudroom and keep the dogs back there when they get all filthy. So it's
Beautiful.
It's home away from home, and Jules and I love it. We love traveling. We both consider ourselves gypsies. We really do love the road and love everything that the North America has to offer. And obviously we've never done it overseas, but we just love traveling around here. It's just a great job and a great life.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing this right, you're in like a triaxle goose now, or fifth wheel camper, like a toy hauler.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's huge, and I think last year we were on the road about 250 days out of the year, so we live in this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very nice looking camper.
Yeah. Oh, you must be looking at it.
Yeah. The inside isn't as pretty as what you think right now. It's a little worn after living in it this long, but
yeah, we have
home.
two stinky dogs trouncing around and clothes everywhere, but it's like my college dorm is what it looks like.
Oh, great. What do you think about that, Julia? Does it bother you at all?
Oh, gosh, no. I'm a gypsy. I could live on the road. I love going home. We actually have a beautiful home in Tennessee, and, I like going there and spending a little time. But after I'm there for about a week, I'm ready to get back on the road and go explore a little bit more. So,
a perfect example of that is we get home tomorrow night and we leave Friday afternoon to head to Lynchburg, Tennessee for another turkey hunt. We hunt down there every year, and we've got a really good friend down there that we hunt with, so we're going to go film down there over the weekend. And Tennessee turkey's about to close here in a week and a half or so, and so I think we're going to hit it. I think the birds are really fired up right now, so that just gives you an example of the amount of time that we do spend with them.
We step off our house once in a while, but we don't spend much time there.
That's people that are on TV, the more I talk to them, the more I learn that that's pretty much the case. You have a house somewhere, and you're hardly ever there, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, just listening to you talk, I don't detect any accents. Where are you from originally?
Well, I'm from Florida. Originally, I was born down in St. Petersburg, and I grew up in a tiny town just north of St. Pete, and I ended up moving to Nashville in 1997 to chase that old music dream, and I've been there since. I don't know. I'll probably call Tennessee home for a long time. I mean, every time we go someplace, we always want to move there, but I think we'll stay in Tennessee for a while.
Gotcha.
And I'm from Oklahoma originally. I don't have an accent, but Oklahoma was my home state.
Okay, all right, I can see that. Yeah, sometimes you can pick up on an accent when you're talking to people. I don't hear anything really.
Yeah.
So Dan, tell me about your pursuit of the music industry. What was going on there?
I come from a musical family. My dad was a guitar player, very, very talented guitar player. My mom was a singer, and all my siblings played a little bit of music, but none of them took it as serious as I did. So it's kind of a long story about how I ended up going to Nashville, but it was discovered at a local concert down there that I played in. It was the very first time I ever stepped foot on stage, and I hired a local rock band to do a couple songs and ended up playing some stuff that I had written along with some old classics, and basically was discovered that evening. A guy from the East Coast of Florida worked for a booking company and started booking me for a bunch of shows. And I mean, first show I ever played for was Brian White and Leroy Parnell. And then the second show I ever did was playing for Sawyer Brown. Third show was for Tanya Tucker. Fourth one I opened for John Michael Montgomery, and it just started to unfold. So that was in March of 1996, and in June of 1997, I ended up getting rid of everything and pulling roots and heading up to Nashville. And I had on an independent label size, I had what I consider a really successful career. It was we toured the country. Walmart was one of our biggest outlets. Back then, you were still able to do some of that stuff, like the grassroots efforts. And so I've had 2 albums out. Both have done really well. We charted high. Keith Urban wrote 4 songs off my first album. That's kind of my claim to fame. And it was great. Music took me places that I probably never would have seen. Music led me to the first television show that I had, which was Backstage and Backroads. So it was a great, wonderful run. I still play. We still do quite a few concerts. I'm still threatening everybody to do a third album, but I haven't had the time to put it together. And so, that's my music story in a nutshell.
That's cool. So did it dawn on you that you might have made it in the music industry when you saw your albums in Walmart?
I think that's all perception based off each person. It is. I felt like it. I mean, I don't ever know what made it meant, but it certainly was a huge pinnacle for me to walk in and see the album. And I'll never forget, it was in Franklin, Tennessee, and I didn't even know it was in there. Well, I was walking through Walmart, and I just said, I thought to myself, I wonder when they're going to get these albums in here. And I walked in, and they had it on an end cap. They had like 30 of them, and I just about fell over. So, yeah.
Well,
so
when you're on an end cap, that's a big deal. End caps are huge.
I want you to tell us about that. Tell us about when you first seen your album on the end cap.
Well, I had mixed emotions because it was the end cap just to the left of me was Preparation 8, so I was a little. It was a little, little bittersweet, but. Oh, it was really fun, man. I took pictures, and all of a sudden, I remember doing that, and then all of a sudden, this little crowd gathered and started, I think we sold out of the entire end cap, and I know the manager at Walmart was really excited that we did that. And
all right.
That kind of led to a big Walmart tour. I did 325 Walmart stores across the country in 18 months. It was almost as grueling as what we're doing now, but it was all music-based, and got to meet a lot of great people, still stay in touch with a lot of great artists and band members, and really love it. And it's like this television now, it's a wonderful creative outlet, and I owe it all to music, and it's a nice way to still stay creative. But, most every place we go, I pull the guitar out and play for everybody, so it's still really dear to my heart.
Beautiful. Excellent. Julie, what's your background?
Well, like I said, I'm a gypsy, so I've lived all over the place. I've had a few different careers. I worked in the fashion industry. I worked as a model overseas for a lot of years.
About 8 years.
About 8 years.
Okay.
And I traveled a lot back then. I used it as not only a really good source of income, but I got to see the world working in fashion. And I spent a lot of time in Europe, just kind of working. I didn't really have a lot of time for a personal life back then. So
Sure.
I retired from that when I was 30, which was just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And
You're 30.
I've had a few other careers. I've actually been in the hunting industry off and on for about 12 years, which is surprising to people because in this industry, if you're not in front of the camera, people don't realize you're in the industry sometimes.
Right.
But I worked behind the camera a lot. I did a lot of, pro staff stuff back, when there were no other girls. I think I was the first girl on the Bent Lock pro staff back in, 2001 or something. I've had a diverse situation when it comes to my career over the years.
Yeah, she's being quiet too. Julie has her degree in psychology, and that really comes in handy. That comes in handy here because I'm a mess.
You're a mess.
I do. I actually, while I was working overseas, I went to college. I paid for my college that way. I did earn 2 degrees in psychology.
And she also has her pilot's license, which is pretty amazing. And she also played the poker tour in Vegas for 3 or 4 years. It's funny. We had a guest on one of our shows one time. No joke. The very first night in camp, I remember I kept watching him. He just kept staring at her, which most guys do, but he was staring at her really weird. And he jumped out of his chair and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I know where I recognize you from. You played on the poker tour. I saw you on TV. And she started laughing. I'm going, wow, of all the things that they recognized her, that's where they recognized her from.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, I did play professional poker for a little while also, which was a fun little side career.
If I had to like say or try to line this up, I mean, the careers that you've had are just fascinating.
Yeah, it's almost like I just, pulled something out of a hat and thought, yeah, that sounds good.
From model to poker player to outdoor TV star. Sure, why not?
Right. Why not? That's what I say.
So, Julie, when did you get into hunting?
When did I get into hunting?
Yeah.
I was around, I was into fishing for a while when I was younger because I grew up in Oklahoma, and fishing is a big thing in Oklahoma. We have a lot of ponds that are just fantastic for pond hopping.
Okay.
When I was around, 14, 15, I started getting more interested in guns. Both of my parents were military. They met in the Army.
Okay.
So I came up in a family that respected guns and knew guns very well. So when I turned 16, this is my dad's favorite story, and he tells it all the time. When I turned 16, he asked me what kind of car I wanted, and I said I wanted a 12-gauge shotgun. So that's what he got me for my 16th birthday. And I didn't have anyone to take me hunting. I didn't come from a hunting family. So I actually went to the bookstore, and I bought some magazines that were about hunting, and I started reading them. And I would sit there in the bookstore so I wouldn't have to buy them, and I would just sit there and read the hunting stories and what to use and what the right gun was for which animal. And I self-educated a lot back then. I just read everything I could get my hands on. And then I think I was probably 18 or 19 when I went hunting for the first time. Mm-hmm. I was by myself, and I borrowed a gun from someone, and I asked if I could use their property, and they said yeah. So I actually took myself whitetail hunting on the first hunt of my life, and I scored a huge buck, shot him, and it was very memorable because it was also the first time I'd ever seen an animal die. So, and I had killed it, which was kind of a big deal for me. So, kind of not your usual, dad takes the girl hunting, girl likes to hunt, or, it was
right.
kind of a different way of getting into it than most, I guess.
I definitely want to hear more about that hunt. That sounds very interesting. And of course, you said,
yeah,
big buck. We get kind of excited on this show. Just our thing. So
yeah, and honestly, I mean, you can imagine I had never even come close to anything like that. To this day, it's the oldest deer that I've ever shot. It was the guy that I took it to kind of have it scored out and looked at. He said it was probably about a 9-year-old deer, which was super old. He said he'd never even really seen one in that area that lived that long. So I was pretty proud of myself.
Excellent. Okay, that's the story I want to hear in a little bit. That's definitely. Would you agree, Dusty? That's the story we want.
Seriously, is this even a question, Jay?
Okay, thank you very much. All right, excellent. So, Julie, when did you get your pilot's license?
When did I get my pilot's license?
Yeah.
I think I was 23 or 24, and I had moved out to California, and it seemed like a lot of my friends out there, they were either pilots or they had little planes, and they were going up and flying their planes a lot, and I would go up with them. And I thought, if something were to happen, I don't like to not be in control. So I decided to take a few lessons to figure out what to do in the case of an emergency. And then I enjoyed it so much that I actually took an accelerated program, and I went to Long Beach, California for about 4 or 5 weeks, accelerated my education on it and became licensed. And then I studied aerobatics for about 2 years. So, like when you see them doing all the flips and rolls and stuff like that. Yeah, I did that for a couple of years.
There's a guy that flies over my house every Sunday afternoon and does that.
Yeah, it's always kind of obnoxious when you're not the one in the plane.
Drives me. It's fun for like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, go away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Gotcha. So, do you ever end up doing like some bush piloting to get into some of these remote areas to hunt or fish?
You mean like now? Do we get into piloting? I think the only thing we've done, I've never actually flown. No, I've never flown in that situation.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had.
Gotcha.
We've taken some small planes, out to some remote areas. And of course, it's always fun for me to do that.
Right.
But no,
You've never done it.
I've never done it personally. No.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about Brother Outdoors TV. How did that come about?
Brotherhood Outdoors was actually around before Julie and I basically took it over a few years back. It had run about 2 or 3 seasons, and Brotherhood Outdoors is a brainchild of the Union Sportsmen's Alliance, which is based out of Nashville as well. And the concept was really simple. The concept was to take a deserving union member on basically his or her trip of a lifetime. I know we've seen TV shows like that before, but it definitely was. It's a union specific type show, and they had 2 or 3 seasons with another host, and I think that they were just looking for some younger, fresher faces at the time, and they were also looking for a new production company. And wow, lucky us, we happen to own a production company in Nashville. And then we hosted Backstage and Backroads for 6 or 7 seasons on Sportsman Channel. So they approached us, and we sat down, and everything, all the stars lined up, and we ended up taking over the duties. And it's been such a blessing and a blast. We have just met some of the best people in the world, on these trips, guys that we take hunting. We just took a gentleman, Mark Kessler, on a Merriam turkey hunt out there in Spearfish, South Dakota, and to hear him talk about it, he says, this has been the best trip of my life. And, it's something that we do every week of our lives. And we made a big change, a big difference in his life, and got to introduce him to some places that he might not have ever seen, in his life.
Right. Yeah. Brotherhood Outdoors is cool because it's, a lot of hunting shows, you see the same person going hunting every week on every episode. And for us, with this show, it's a little bit different. We actually get to feature a different person on every episode. So you get to hear a unique story. There's a fantastic storyline on every episode that describes why this person, why did we choose them? They've either done something incredible with their life, or they've gone through something tragic and they need a break from life, or, there's always a reason why we want to take them hunting with us. So that's always kind of the fun part of what we do, is we get to tell some pretty cool stories. It's
so rewarding. Julie and I have been around the world for many things, hunting, music, modeling, that kind of deal. And we've hunted almost everywhere. And so to be able now to sit back and to take somebody who, not necessarily that they're less deserving, it's just they haven't had that opportunity. Sometimes it's financial, that they can't go, and sometimes they just can't justify it because they have 3 or 4 kids, and
and hunting's expensive.
It's an expensive,
yeah.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So it's Brotherhood Outdoors is really a wonderful deal. We love it. The people that we work with over at Union Sportsmen's Alliance are great. They give us a lot of freedom to do what we do. The show is really one of the top most watched programs on Sportsman Channel. We were up for 3 awards this past SHOT Show at the Sportsman Choice Awards. I know a couple of years ago it did win the award for the best combination show on the channel, and we're really proud of it. We really love it. It made so many new friends, and I hope we do this for a really long time.
That's awesome. So before the TV show, there was Backstage and Backroads, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me about that whole endeavor. This is your production company, but it's also the name of
we actually we took the name of the older TV show, Backstage and Backroads, and by the name you can tell Backstage, it focused on Daniel's music, behind the scenes, that type of stuff. And Backroads, it was about hunting and fishing. It was a combination show with music and hunting and those things. So what we did is, when that show ended and we took over the new TV show, Brotherhood Outdoors, our production company still remained. So the production company that we own is Backstage and Backroads Productions. Mm-hmm. And we actually, it's kind of fun because we handle a lot of commercial work, a lot of industry work, product reviews, that type of thing, outside of the TV show. So we always have something interesting going on, a lot of new projects coming in. So that's kind of the history with Backstage and Backroads. It's been around for a long time, and now people are recognizing it more as a production company instead of just a TV show on the network.
Well, and the funny part of the story, if you want to go back to the beginning, it was a chance meeting. At the time, I was knee deep in music. I mean, this was 2006, November of 2006, maybe October, and I started, because of music, I was doing a lot of charity events, a lot of golf. I played a lot of golf when I lived in Florida. And so I started playing these, they would call them celebrity golf events. And I'd do a lot of them that were involved with the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association. So the MLBPAA. So I'd go around and, play a lot of these tournaments with some unbelievable, Hall of Fame baseball players, Wade Boggs, and, So I happened to be playing one up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. The guy that was hosting it was a Milwaukee Brewers pitcher. His name was Kenny Sanders, and Kenny hosted this thing. So I went up there, and I actually got paired with a gentleman by the name of Todd Hansen. And Todd Hansen just so happened to be one of the founders of the Sportsman Channel. He and another guy. And I'll never forget it because I was the fourth in their group, and I remember later, it might have been a week or so later, I remember Todd telling me that he said, "You know how upset I was when I paid a lot of money to play with a celebrity and I found out I was playing with the entertainment?" He goes, I wanted to play with like Brooks Robinson or, Earl Wade Boggs or Harlem Killebrew or one of those guys. He goes, I ended up playing with the entertainment. But we really hit off a great friendship. And I think it was not 2 or 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a tree stand in Franklin, Tennessee at 3:00 in the afternoon. And I remember I had this brainstorm of an idea for a pilot for a TV show. And I thought, what the heck? I'm going to throw it to these guys. And I did. And it was Backstage and Backroads. A couple weeks later, I got an email back from Todd. He said, "You are reading our minds. We've been trying to find something that is an exclusive production of Sportsman Channel." So he goes, "How soon can you get up here?" Everything happened within a week and a half, and we had a television show going. So that's talk about being right place, right time.
And all you had to do was go golfing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. Funny, isn't it?
More business is done on the golf course than any other place in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that out for sure.
That's pretty cool. Very nice. So tell me a little bit about being a role model for others who love the outdoors as much as you do. Why is that important?
Yeah, it's funny. We find ourselves not just airing a show on a network now. We find ourselves being everyday role models for people through social media, through appearances, through personal relationships that we have. Young people, and even not young people, even just people in general, are looking to us because we live this lifestyle. And first of all, I have to say it's a huge honor. It's a privilege for sure to be in the situation that we're in. But one of the things that comes along with being that role model is also putting up with the other side of it. There's a lot of people in this world who don't think that we're role models. So we have to stay positive and focus on educating the public about the reasons why we're hunters and what we do for conservation. And I think that comes through. I think that when anybody looks at us and what we put out there, the things that we say publicly, photos that we post or stories that we tell, it doesn't matter if you're a hunter or not a hunter or young or old. There's a certain level of respect that has to come with that we're living this brand, we're living this lifestyle nonstop and devoting our entire life to it. It's not just one of those, on the weekends we go out and we do this or we do that. This is an everyday thing for us. And knowing that there are people out there who are looking up to us as a role model is what keeps us going on a lot of days. The beautiful thing about social media is that we get personal messages and direct messages from so many people. And yeah, there's a couple that aren't good, but the ones that are good.
That's the way social media works.
Right?
Yeah.
But the ones that are good are the reason why I check my direct messages. If I knew that they were all going to be bad, I wouldn't even open it. But I get some of the nicest, most wonderful messages from people about, hey, my daughter's think you're great. Or my wife got into hunting because she thinks that you're so cool. Or, there's all of these different little things that happen throughout the day. And that's what we focus on. We focus on putting more good content out there to keep those positive energies flowing.
Well, I remember that one guy that came up to you at that one trade show, and he goes, I want to thank you for what you do on television. He goes, I'll tell you why. He goes, because I'm really trying to get my daughter in the outdoors, and she loves it. But my daughter is not going to want to go hunting because she watched Jim Shockey.
Right.
She wants to go hunting because she saw Julie McQueen doing it. That's why she wants to go. And she said, you're such a great role model for doing that.
Yeah. And it's also that whole thing comes back to anybody can do what we do. I mean, we devote our lives to it and this is our career, but anybody can go out and spend time in the outdoors and take beautiful photos and harvest their own food. And those are the things that I like to be a role model for, just those qualities of life that, as Americans and as citizens, we have those privileges, and it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love hunting for that type of reason, is that there really are no boundaries in hunting. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what sex you are, it doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody can play, and
right.
It's a beautiful thing because it really is a representation of America in another form. And I mean, you bring firearms, you bring a tradition that goes back to our forefathers, and without hunting, the U.S. would not exist today, because you're not going to just farm. You had farming, but the original settlers had to hunt to establish. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely I think we almost honor them in some ways when we hunt. Is that we're going back to our roots, way back.
Right. Yeah. And, you never hear people say, a colony of gatherers. It was always hunter-gatherers.
Exactly.
And there's a reason for that. And continuing that heritage and moving forward with, the customs and traditions that have been passed down to us. Even if you come from a family like mine who they weren't hunters, but there's something ingrained in me, something inside of me that knew that that's what I wanted to do and what I should be doing. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like you said, there's no boundary. You can be anybody from any walk of life, and you can walk into the outdoors. And as long as you do it legally and ethically, you can provide organic meat for your family through hunting. And I just think that is one of the biggest blessings that's been bestowed on us.
I completely agree. And I think you bring out a great point too, Dan, is that, they're one of the fastest growing segments of the outdoor industry are female hunters. And that in itself, and Julie, you're right in front and center here when it comes down to this stuff. So you have, every time you open up Facebook, there's some female hunter that's getting just bombarded by PETA for taking out something somewhere. But for some reason, the guys don't get that. Why is that?
Well, here comes my psychology degree.
Excellent. Finally, somebody gives me an answer for this.
It is interesting, and it used to bother me a lot more than it does now. We do get bombarded, and I had a situation just 2 days ago where that exact thing happened, and I try to keep it quiet. I don't post a lot about it. And the first thing I did, I have to be honest, was I texted a friend of mine who is also in the same position as I am. She has a TV show on the Sportsman Channel. And, we find comfort in knowing that other people have been through the same situation. Hunters have to back each other up. And knowing that I can make a phone call to either one of our sponsors or one of my friends, a girlfriend in the industry, and they've either been through the same thing or they've seen the same thing, that helps. It helps to know that I'm not the only person who's getting threats or these horrible comments. And it is interesting because Daniel doesn't get those things. He very rarely has anybody complain about anything he does. And when they do complain, it's typically on they don't think something was ethical, or they don't agree with, something he did on the show. It's never a personal attack as far as, they don't threaten him. They don't threaten to come kill his dogs like they do me. They don't threaten to come find him those types of things. And I think that people honestly believe that women are more vulnerable. And when you look at me as a person, I mean, I'm one of the least vulnerable women I know. You know, I'm very strong-willed, strong-minded.
And they find that out after the fact. They don't think that you're going to fight back, and then they should have just called me first. I could have warned them.
I'm very thick-skinned, like the other girls in this industry. We see a lot of threats, we hear a lot of horrible things, and we still continue to keep doing what we're doing because it's right in our minds, and we believe what we're doing is the good thing to do. There's nothing that anyone could ever say to get me to stop being a hunter. But I think it is interesting that men in our industry are not going through a similar thing. They're protected by their manhood almost. And I think a big part of it is the people who attack us. And I can say this openly because everyone knows it. It's no secret. The vegans are the ones who attack us. Right. They don't believe that we should be not only eating, but wearing or hurting animals in any way. And that's their opinion. That's cool. I'm not going to attack them for that. But knowing that 99% of my threats come from that group is a big deal. And I think there's a real problem there.
Yeah.
So
I always say the reason that they do that is because they're hangry. Hungry and angry at the same time.
Yeah,
hangry.
They're hangry.
That's a great point. That you know you
I'm
said
like,
that
go grab a chicken nugget or something, guys. You'll feel a lot better for crying out loud.
Next time I come across one of those types of people, I'm going to say you're very angry.
Because you're hungry. Say you're angry because you're hungry. Jay.
Yeah, you're angry because you're hungry.
That's a great point that Julie brought up there. That you respect what they're doing, and on the same level, they should respect what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm not going to try to convince them that they're hurting the environment because they're not doing their part to control animal populations.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to call them names because, honestly, I think everyone should do their part for conservation. And I don't think they're doing their part just by standing on the sidelines and not harming animals. It's fantastic that they're kind-minded towards animals in that way. That's wonderful for them.
Right.
But hunters, not just me, but hunters are not going to be name-calling and threatening their lives because we have a different choice on how to live our lives. Mm-hmm. So that puts us in the category as being the bigger person. And absolutely. I think that if the general public knew the things that were said to us by these, anti-hunters, the general public would be shocked. I think these people's families would be shocked. Their kids would be upset if they knew what their mom and dad were saying to me online,
Yeah. So when you change it, when you have a mindset that you're never going to change the way that they feel, you just kind of move on.
Yeah.
We're not going to listen. I had people that came up and told me that my music sucked after the concert, and I was like, really? Wow, you're like one of like 10,000 people in the last 2 nights that have said that. So I knew the majority was there, but you're just going to get,
So we just continue on and we keep being positive role models for the ones that appreciate what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It seems like we always get focused on the one negative comment, but not the 10,000 positive ones. And
it's so true.
And Julie, you tell me, why that is psychologically. I don't know, but it just seems to be the way.
I think it's in our nature. I think we want approval. We want everyone to like us and to be happy, especially someone in our line of work. We're in this because there's some type of ego or there's some type of, obviously I don't think we have egos, but there's something inherent in us where we want people to like us. And when one person doesn't, it hurts our feelings, and then we dwell on that. Even though I've got 55 messages in my inbox from people who absolutely adore me, the one message where someone says something negative is always going to stand out. It's going to keep me awake at night because I want to convince that person that I'm nice.
Right. There seems to be something about getting older too, where that seems to weigh less and less. And I don't, and maybe it is just a nice thing to look forward to as you get older. And maybe you become a grumpy old man. I don't know. I feel like I'm a grumpy old man now and then. The older I get, I'm going to be 44 later this month, and.
Oh, yeah, you're super grumpy.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm grumpy, but when somebody comes up to me and says that they don't like something I did, or somebody screams at me because I didn't put my signal on, or anything, it doesn't matter. or somebody bombards us on Facebook, it doesn't bother me nearly as bad as it used to when I was 19, 20, or in my 20s.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of let it slide by and, delete it and walk on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in the case where somebody.
Mellow with age.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, we do mellow with age, don't we?
I think we do.
Absolutely.
I think we totally do.
Jay used to be a firecracker on antis. And that was just 2 years ago. And now he just lets it pass him by.
Yeah, well, I still get the antis all fired up, because what I'll do is when we get an anti thing on the Big Buck Registry on the Facebook page, the first thing I do is I find where they are and I take a picture of it and then I post it on the Big Buck Registry and I let all the fans go get them. And guaranteed before the end of the day, that Facebook page is shut down completely because they can't take any more bombardment from our fans. So I like to fight back.
Yeah. And if you have, a fan base that'll help you out with that, then, more power to you, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We do, definitely. Julie, I'm going to ask a question here. Being an outdoors woman, other than antis, what challenges are you faced with daily being the face of the outdoors?
Honestly, there's not a lot of challenges to it. I see this as, obviously I run a company. I'm the face of the outdoors to some people. There's a lot of girls in this industry who are also the face of the outdoors. So it's almost like a lot of that pressure is off because there are other women who do what I do, who help out. We, together as a group, women hunters have come together and kind of raised that bar and set a higher standard for what it is to be an outdoors woman. And it's taken a lot of the challenge away, to be honest. It's I'm not going to say it's easy to be in my position. It's not something that is always comfortable or simple. But the challenges are not as big as what you'd think. I mean, my biggest challenge sometimes is, where are the turkeys? Or, did I draw an elk tag? Or, I'm focused on the production side of it. The challenge is getting that perfect shot or telling a great story. But as far as being a face of the outdoors, I relax and enjoy the ride more than I do stress out about any of the challenges that might be involved.
Awesome. That's something that over the years has progressed for the women hunters. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, somebody who's not in our industry might look at us and say, oh, I bet all the women hunters who have TV shows, I bet they just hate each other. It's not true. We're not a big part of us. There's quite a few of us. It's not a competition at all. We talk to each other. We text all the time. We support each other completely. And because we're not the same thing. We're not the same product. We're not the same person. It's not a competition at all. So that would be one thing that's interesting for a lot of people to see behind the scenes is that a lot of the girls who you would think are competing with me or, we're, competing, I guess is the best word for it. Mm-hmm. We're just not. It's not a competition. We each have our own identity and we've established, who we are in our careers and it's so much more fun to support each other. It's no fun to, worry about what somebody else is doing and if their grass is greener. Right. So it's a very stress-free environment around here. We're happy to see everybody else succeeding in this career path also. It's not a competition at all.
I think that's interesting. I think that comes from like just the hunters within, that's part of our whole soul as a hunter. We just want people to be successful. But if you took that whole concept and brought it into like mainstream, that wouldn't fly. And that's probably where this is all coming from. I mean, I can't imagine a mainstream television station they would love it if you all didn't get along and we're all at each other's throat because that makes for great TV in the mainstream media. But that's not hunting.
And so true. Yeah, this is not Hollywood. And,
that's right.
They could do a whole Real Housewives of hunting TV shows, but I don't know how cool that would be.
Could you imagine outdoors with the Kardashians?
That's fun.
I don't know how well we would do at that because it's such a drama-free environment. Nobody there's not as much drama as what people might think in this industry.
Well, we're working too hard to do drama.
Yeah.
We've got so many other things going on. The last thing we worry about is,
Right.
Yeah.
we celebrate our fellow outdoors people, whether they're on TV or whether they're not. That's just part of, like you said earlier, I think it's part of how we are wired as outdoorsmen and hunters and fishermen.
Right.
Some of the best stories I ever have are people giving, hitting a trout stream in southern Oklahoma and not sure what to hatch or what's going on, and having an older couple walk up behind you and give you 15 flies out of their fly box because they know that you've never been to that creek before. The story like that after story, just
Right.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think
Happens all the
outdoors
time.
people, hunters and fishermen, I think that we have a giving spirit in a lot of ways. And I said this earlier to Daniel Lee, maybe yesterday. I said, I think there's something in our nature, being a hunter or an outdoorsman, that makes us respect life more than what most people might. We see life in a bigger picture because we harvest it, and we harvest it for food and it's a spiritual thing for us. And so I think it kind of goes into our personal lives in a lot of ways. We respect life so much because it's something that we don't take for granted, being who we are as hunters.
Right. Not only did you say that, but you also said, did you eat all the donuts?
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I did.
That's funny.
The more and more that you affiliate somebody from a big city that don't get to the woods very often, they ask you, how do you keep so calm? How do you not let things bother you? And often I say, I go to the woods, and out there, nothing else matters.
It's so true.
It is so true.
You disconnect for a little while.
Absolutely.
And get back to what really does matter.
Yeah, if you run on a low battery, you go to the woods and re-energize that battery that keeps you calm and collective and keeps your soul alive. It's just something that being an anti-hunter, there would be no way. I'd be stressed out and constantly hungry and it all comes together as a hunter that you can handle different situations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be some type of anger built up in people who write the things that they write. So
Absolutely.
that's my general theory on the whole thing.
I'm not going to get mad at a person because they gnaw on a tree. That's not
Right.
right. Vegans,
Right.
That's not what they do. They gnaw on trees. They eat bark. Yeah, I'm not going to get mad at them for that. Why are they going to get mad at me for whatever?
Hey, good point. Let's go on a couple of hunts, guys. I want to hear this story that Julie was telling us a little bit about. And Dan, if you've got something, your most memorable hunt, I'd love to hear it. But I'm very interested in this big deer that Julie shot. Dusty, you want to kind of walk us through this thing? I'd like to kind of start about 48 hours before the hunt, if we could, Julie, and just give us a little play-by-play of what happened.
Yeah, sure. Well, back then I didn't have a rifle to use, so I just asked a friend, if I could use a rifle, and they loaned me a 7 mag, and which is, obviously the perfect deer rifle for the Midwest.
Let's hear a date. Let's hear a date, Julie. Tell us when we're going back to.
Okay. Let's see. I would have been about 18 or so. So it'd be about 2001, maybe.
Okay, so 2001 era.
Yeah, around 2001, 2002, maybe 2001. And, I had never seen an animal harvested, but I had read a lot about it, and I knew I wanted to be a part of that. So I borrowed a rifle. I got permission to hunt on a property, and they had said, there's a lot of deer here. It's right by a river in Missouri. Beautiful property, great deer population, and I didn't even know how to get in a tree stand. I'd never even seen a tree stand in my life. So what I did is I set up on a ridge that overlooked a little hillside, and a field was down below. And I knew that I needed to blend in, so I went and bought some camo at Bass Pro and, all that stuff. And I found 2 trees. Uh-huh.
Do you recall what kind of camo it was?
I don't. I couldn't even tell you. I wish I still had it, to be honest. It'd be a prized possession if I still had it, but I have no idea. But it was probably boy camo, because back then they didn't make a lot of girl camo.
Right.
So I just found anything that fit, and I went out and I kind of positioned myself between 2 trees. They were the perfect width apart where my shoulders touched both, but I could wiggle between them and get warm. And I put the gun on my lap, and I knew a lot about guns coming from a military family, so I was comfortable with the rifle, and I just sat there. And I remember I got there before dark, and I walked in by myself, and I can remember the leaves were so crunchy and it was so loud, and I thought, well, this is never going to work. You know, I'm probably scaring everything off. And I got there and I got to watch the world wake up that morning for the first time in the woods being on a hunt. And it was amazing. Even if I hadn't shot anything, that would have been a very memorable day for me because I had never witnessed the world waking up in that way. And
it's unbelievable.
So, yeah, it was amazing. To my little mind back then, it was overwhelming. And then, of course, the age-old story where a deer comes in walking from the left. He's walking middle of the ridge. You know, he's not down in the field, but he's not up on the top. And he walked from my left. He was walking to the right, and I found an opening where when he stepped out from behind the tree, I could shoot him. And so I took the safety off and propped my rifle up on my knee. And as soon as he stepped out, I pulled the trigger and he went down. He fell right where he stood. And then I had no idea what to do. I mean, what do? You've never even seen this whole situation happen before. I didn't know if I'm supposed to go to him. Am I supposed to wait? He was still moving a little bit, so I waited. And then, you know, I went down there and I got up to him, and then I realized I have no idea what to do with this thing. I mean, what do you do?
Right. So tell us how you felt when you first got to that buck. How did you feel?
Oh, gosh, I was overwhelmed. I cried. And I sat there and I looked at him and I kind of touched him and I tried to pull him, but there's no way I was going to get him anywhere. You know, I just kind of yanked on him a little thinking maybe I can drag him to the field and drive down here. But I just sat there for, I don't know, it seemed like an hour, but I might have only sat there for 20 or 30 minutes looking at him. And, you know, it was a spiritual thing. I think at that moment in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know as a career is what I wanted to do, but I knew that there was something in me that told me that, you know, that deer was going to feed me and my friends for quite a while. So that was a really cool feeling. It was a self-sustainability that I had never felt before.
All right. So how did you end up getting this particular deer out of the woods?
I called a friend. Who lived nearby, and he had to come down and help me get it in the bed of the truck. And he, you know, kind of showed me what to do, what not to do. And I ended up driving it over to the taxidermist, and I had the meat processed, you know, the whole thing. But I mean, obviously, when a girl's in the woods by herself, it's an empowering thing. I felt like Superman that day, you know, like I had just conquered the world and I could do anything. But then when I tried to, you know, get that thing by myself, not having ever seen that done before, it was an absolute disaster. So, you know, the whole story that I just told and the aftermath, not knowing what to do and all of those emotions, I think that's why I'm so passionate about kids going out with a mentor or a parent or someone who can show them what to do. You know, I don't think that kids should have to go out by themselves and try to figure it out on the fly. I think that going hunting with a child for their first hunt or even their third or fourth hunt is so crucial to the future of what we're doing here.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more to that. You know, just from not the experience by yourself, I can say that that's phenomenal, but it's the aftermath and what you need to do properly and ethical and keeping meat properly maintained. You know, there's a little bit of education there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I learned a lot from that, and nobody ever really forgets their first animal, you know, and I'll never forget that deer. But I've come a long way since then. You know, I'm proud of myself for doing that without having anyone there to kind of mentor me. But you know, I hope that other people don't have to do that without a mentor. You know, I kind of just, in my mind, I hope that everyone has someone to take them hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's something that you pass the tradition on to the younger generations that are coming up in the hunting.
Right.
Great story.
Yeah.
Awesome story. All right, let's go on to Dan's story. Dan, do you have a story queued up?
Wow, I have a lot of stories. It's so tough. Okay. I've been hunting since I can remember. Nice part about, my story personally is the fact that I got to share it with my dad, who's, you know, he's been gone since September of 97. But he, years and years ago, I was in 7th grade, and my dad and a group of local Rotary guys, real close friends to my dad, leased a piece of property out in Llano, Texas, and they went out there once a year to hunt. And it was the very first time that they all headed out there, and out of, I don't know, say 10, 12 guys that were wanting to go and hunt, you know, and just kind of be by themselves and their buddies, my dad insisted that he take my brother and myself. So, and my brother was, you know, I grew up hunting and fishing with my dad and my brother. And so we went hunting with, you know, my dad. We took a motor home. Everybody had motor homes, and we went out there and got into this little town of Llano, and the group had to build an addition onto the already existing camp that was there because there were so many of us. So I remember that like it was yesterday. And the very first morning of that hunt, I was using a gun that my mom and dad had got me the Christmas prior, and it was a Remington Model 788 243 bolt action short barrel, and it had a Tasco scope on top, and I think the Tasco scope was a 4-power. I mean, so it was a great beginner's gun, you know, and I'll never forget getting that gun at Christmas, but I'll never forget using it on my very first deer. And they put me on a chimney stand. It was an old chimney that was left from a house that had burnt down, and they put a tree stand on top of it with a recliner inside. And I'll never forget getting up in that tree stand and falling asleep. I mean, immediately. And I remember waking up sprawled out, like full sprawl on the back of that lazy boy, and I just got up, and thank goodness I didn't make any noise, because when I looked over the edge of that tree stand about 15 feet down, there was an 8-point buck down there just kind of milling around. And I'm a righty, but I was not in a position to shoot him right-handed, so I actually ended up shooting him left, you know, as a lefty, as a southpaw, and he ran about 20 yards, and that was my first buck. And I'll never forget, you know, that feeling of, I climbed out of that stand, which they told us not to, but I climbed out of the stand, and I just was bouncing around for 40 minutes waiting for the truck to get there, you know, so everybody could see my glorious buck. And when you're in 7th grade and you shoot your very first buck, you know, you think it's a booner. Yeah. I actually, and later that afternoon, I went back to the very same stand and shot another 8-point that was like literally the same size, everything. And my dad was wonderful enough to get both those deer mounted for me, and I still have those 2 deer in our house in Tennessee, and they probably scored a 90.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. Nice. Because, I mean, as you can imagine, our house is full of beautiful mounts. We have, you know, we've been so blessed and taken so many beautiful animals, and of all of the mounts in our house, we have these 2 tiny little whitetail bucks, and I keep them hung up just with so much pride because they were his 2 first deer. And
it's funny that shooting those deer you'd think would be the most memorable part of it, but I think the most memorable part is I got to share it with my brother and my dad. You know, my dad he just saw how excited I was. And listen, I was an outdoors kid before I went hunting that time. I mean, my parents couldn't keep me inside, so my dad knew that I loved that. And I think that's the reason that he wanted my brother and me to go with him, was because he knew that we loved to hunt, we loved to fish, and he just wanted to include us in everything that he did. So that probably is my most memorable hunt.
That's awesome, man. That's cool.
That's really awesome.
I love that.
And the cool thing that you still have the mounts today, and they're still displayed no different.
I'm gonna send you guys a picture of it when we get back and put it on your website. People will get a really big kick out of it.
Oh, heck yeah. Not only that, we'll use it to promote the show. Oh, heck yeah. Absolutely. Who's on line 1?
Hi, I'm here.
All right. We've got Josh Carney, son of the South, with us.
Oh, gosh. Hey, man.
How's it going?
Oh, well, it's better now.
The Turkey Slayer.
The Turkey Slayer is in the house.
He's the king of turkeys.
I don't know about Turkey Slayer, but I did a little damage this year.
Oh, Josh Carney is one of our favorite people.
I know.
That just made my day.
See you guys all over social media, and I had to give Jay a text. I was like, "Hey, man, you still on the phone with this guy?" Like, "Yeah, meet me."
Yeah, patch me in, he says. But don't tell him who's calling.
I was telling you guys we were in NRA
Yeah.
NRA.
Yeah, I know. We had a tough turkey season because Josh Carney killed everything before we could get there.
you can't say that stuff on the radio. There are game wardens out there listening.
Oh,
And I'm pretty sure.
Wait. We're having a really tough turkey season because Josh Carney legally killed all of his turkeys.
Thank you. That's better.
If he ain't killing all the turkeys, he's whacking the deer with his truck.
You gotta get a 2-for-1. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
It goes, if you kill a turkey, you automatically hit a deer with a truck that night.
Absolutely.
Right.
All
We
right.
call
The
it
reward.
the truck tag.
Yeah, I had a rough season, but it was pretty good.
You know who's killing
Yeah.
big turkeys now?
I am actually under the radar for turkey season, doctor's order, so I can't turkey hunt anymore to save the population.
Gotcha.
Is that what it is?
Outside of doctor's orders, you're out there slaying the turkeys, I hear. Is that correct, Josh?
No, well, I was. I did it. I had a pretty good season this year.
Dusty, our co-host, who we're talking to right now, just nailed his first bird the other day.
Yeah, first one.
Oh,
Congrats, man.
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks. It took me a few years to figure it out, but once I did, now that I got the knowledge and I'm prepared for what's to come in the future, and I'm gonna be I'll never be Joshua Carney, but
Right.
as much as I love and have passion for the woods, it's something that definitely sparks my interest in the highest level.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Last time we saw Josh was at the NRA event there in Nashville. And so I got a great story. We're all standing there talking in one of the aisles. And I said, "Are you going to be around tomorrow?" And Josh says, "No, I'm going turkey hunting in the morning." And I tried to convince Josh that it would be really funny if he shot a turkey and then brought it to the show with him. And it was one of those moments where I don't know if anyone else thought that was hilarious, but I thought you would forever be my hero, Josh, if you rolled in there with a turkey and, a tag around its leg. And, I thought, can you imagine the social media stuff we could get out of that right there? It'd be great.
Yeah, the antis would be all over you.
Right? I know. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I tried.
It'd have been a great story to be at the NWTF and go out and pull that move, come back with a dead turkey the day of the show.
Right, and since it's Josh Carney, nobody's going to care. They're going to go, "Oh, no, that's great."
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the questions I want to ask, and Josh, this kind of applies to you too, because I know you're like an exercise fiend, and Julie, you're coming out of modeling, and Dan, you're coming off of the music scene, and it seems like both of you guys are in really good shape. Do you have a secret? Is it important to stay fit while hunting, or is this just part of your lifestyle?
I'm sure Josh, you probably feel the same way. When you're on the road, it's kind of hard sometimes. You have to really force yourself to make those good decisions. And I saw on your Instagram earlier, you're forcing down some carbs and, a lot of protein and bulking up and lifting weights. And this is one of those year-round things for us, right? I mean, we don't really have an off season. This is all year.
Yeah. I'm actually just getting out of the gym a few minutes ago myself, but it's one of those things. Well, for me, being in a chair, I have to stay fit year-round, but when hunting season rolls around, I had to face the elements of terrain and just have to push a little further, because everything that I face on a daily basis it's hard enough, but you put limbs and sticks and logs and heels and all that stuff into it, and you got to really work a real workout going on. So it's a year-round thing to stay fit and in good shape for sure.
Yeah. You have a whole new element compared to us. For me, the biggest challenge is I get so tired after we've been either working all day or traveling all day, and you have to really mentally force yourself to make those good decisions.
Yeah, but today
it's definitely one of those things you force yourself to do.
Yeah, we pulled into the campground today, and as soon as everything was set up, Julie says to me, "I'm going for a run." I mean, this is 20 minutes after we pull in, and she's running around the campground in a big circle, and she does it like 10 times, and she comes back, and I just thought, "Wow, I don't know how she does it. I can't muster up that kind of energy." I mean, thank goodness that I've got a screaming metabolism. I mean, we do work, we walk, we're moving all the time, so that does help. But Julie really does make an effort to to get out there and to make sure she's doing what she needs to do every day, to stay in shape.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I figure I do it because one of these days I'm going to have to arm wrestle Josh Carney.
I'd lose. Have you seen my spaghetti arm?
Have you seen how big his arms are getting? They're huge.
I know.
Hey. Hey, what's your nickname, Jay?
The Creeper, man. The Creeper.
Yeah, he's creeping on my profile.
Dan, did you say something about donuts earlier? Seeing we're on the topic of exercise and dieting.
I am taking a photograph right now of what's sitting on our countertop, and when we're done, I'm going to send you all the text of what is on there. And this isn't Julie's doing. This is mine. You guys are going to laugh and go, my gosh, how does he not weigh 400 pounds?
Yeah, Daniel eats a lot of fast food. I'll put that out there. He does not have a good diet.
Guys, last night, not a lie, in where were we last night? Somewhere in Nebraska. I hammered down an entire large Hunt Brothers everything on a pizza all by myself.
Nice. That would have packed in my leg for like 3 weeks.
Hey, Daniel, you know what the new trend is nowadays, huh?
What?
The daddy body.
The daddy body. Got it.
The daddy
body. Daniel's right on trend with that.
I have one of those. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah, Daniel's eating for two once in a while.
Yeah.
I skip a meal and he has my meal for me.
Thank goodness my Sitka stuff is very stretchy.
I think I'm in the two daddy body type category.
We're always thinking about it, trying to make good decisions.
Well, then we go to these lodges and places that we stay at, and we take our guests. The food is absolutely gourmet. I mean, we just left a place, out in Spearfish, and High Prairie Lodge, and my gosh, the food was amazing,
Yeah.
Simply amazing. I just can't stop sometimes.
Right.
And it's tough. Yeah, it is tough, but we do what we can.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it's challenging if you're rolling into some of these resorts that have and hunting lodges that have some of the best food on the planet.
Yeah.
It's got to be tough.
Yeah.
All right, so let's finish up. I've got a few questions that I'd like to ask all my guests. Other than a gun, what's your favorite tool to bring into the woods? What's that one tool that if you don't have with you, other than a gun, you feel naked?
Me first?
Sure.
Boy, I want to say my iPhone, because boy, that sounds too tacky.
Ooh,
I do have a really
interesting.
I have a really killer GPS app on there, but no, you know what it is? It's actually, I have a buck knife that they no longer make, and this thing it's a multi-tool. It had everything on it. Even had a little flashlight built in, when you're cutting stuff. And Buck doesn't make it anymore, and I'm shocked. It has a Phillips head. It has a regular flathead on it. It's got a knife. It's got a bottle opener. It's got a little bitty saw on there, and this thing is just awesome. And I really do. I feel naked if I go in the woods and I've left that thing behind. For a number of reasons. For camera equipment, you got to have that stuff. The Phillips head and the flathead and some of the other things on there. And it's not a very bulky knife. It's really small, compact. So I'd have to say my Buck multi-tool.
Good answer.
Good answer. No,
And
I like that
Spam.
one. Yeah, I can relate to that.
And a can of Spam.
A can of Spam. Nice.
A can of Spam.
All right,
Hey,
Julie.
Josh is laughing, but he's shaking his head. He knows it.
Yeah, I'm shaking it pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, Julie. Other than a gun,
My turn.
yeah, what's that one tool you got to bring in the woods with you?
Well, what we do for a living, so I have to have a camera all the time.
Yeah.
I've got a camera in my hand almost, I would say 90% of the time when we're in the woods. And it's not just about going out there with a gun or, harvesting an animal. Capturing some of the stuff we see in the wild is incredible. And, I don't know if I could just pick one lens, but I would definitely have to have a camera of some sort with me.
Okay.
If I didn't have a weapon.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. All right. Your number one hunting book, Julie, go.
Oh, man. Can I steal Daniel's answer?
Sure. Well, I think you mentioned two of them earlier. So, yeah.
He did. Yeah, he did. I mean, the Flood Bear book is just amazing. I've read bits and pieces of it. And what's really funny is I'm a reader. I read a lot of books, but I don't typically read a lot of hunting books.
Right.
So earlier he did actually talk about one. It was the Field and Stream, the Total Outdoorsman Guide. I love little tips and techniques and, how to tie this knot or what to do if you need a fire. I love those types of books, the survival books. We keep them, of all places. I know this is just something nobody else probably does, but we keep them in the bathroom. And I'm always reading survival books when I'm, in the bathroom.
Right.
So that would probably be my favorite, the survival type, little tips and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, what about you?
It would definitely have to be the Fredbear, The Archer's Bible. I remember back in the 80s, my dad purchased it for him because he was shooting a recurve at the time, and my dad was a lefty. My dad and brother were both lefties on the bow side. And I remember taking that from him, that book, and I started to read it, and I read that thing from front to back 100 times. I loved it.
Awesome.
But even more recent it's got to be that Total Outdoorsman manual. I love that. Eddie Nickens is a good friend of mine, and he put together a really great, thorough book.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so if you could leave us with your number one hunting tip of all time, what would it be?
No, you go first. Ladies first.
Oh, man. Okay. I use this one a lot. And, they actually printed this in an interview I did recently, and I didn't know they were going to use the answer in the interview. But I think it's really good advice. It's if you have the option between peeing your pants or spooking the game, always choose the first one. So nobody's going to judge you for that if they're a hunter, That's how I feel anyways.
Yeah. That's some dedication right there.
That's some real dedication.
Right.
All right, Dan. Dan, what's your answer?
Wow.
How are you going to follow that one?
Mine is a personal. It's no matter what is going on in your life, immediately change your mindset once you step into the woods. So you've got to enjoy the moment, change your mindset, leave everything behind, and just remember, that how blessed you are to be where you are at that time. And it's tough to do sometimes. It's tough for us to do. It's got to be tough. It's tough for everybody. But as soon as you get in there, change your mindset.
That's a good one. That's very good.
Yeah, and I have one more. Okay. I have a piece of advice.
Okay.
If you're going turkey hunting, take Josh Carney with you.
Yes. and leave your calls in the truck. You don't need them.
Hey, that's too much pressure on me. I had that happen to me in Georgia. It's too much pressure on me.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna design a Josh Carney decoy.
I don't think anything would come into it.
We're going to get a cardboard cutout that looks like you, Josh, and we're just going to take it everywhere with us.
Yeah, guys, I'm really a good turkey caller, except when I'm around Josh.
Look, hey, I'm flattered, but hey, I am not the best that's out there. I've seen videos of Jay calling. Jay, I remember our last interview you can call us for us. Why don't you touch up on your calling skills for us a little bit?
You want me to do a call?
I remember on our interview, you're great.
Oh, yeah. No.
It was pretty ugly, Josh. I got to agree with that.
It was hideous. And I even played it back on the air, and it's still there for everybody to listen to. So.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. If you want to hear it, go ahead. It's the Josh Carney episode.
I think I'm just going to stick with drumming or something, and then I'm out of the throat activity.
Exactly.
Nice.
So, guys, where can we find you online? If people listening to the show want to follow you on TV, online, where would people go?
Yeah, on TV, our show, Brotherhood Outdoors, airs on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. And online, social media is a fantastic way to connect with us. We actually respond to everyone, well, almost everyone who writes in and wants to chat with us.
But the timing is impeccable right now. What's happening tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow we're launching a new website, actually. The Backstage and Backroads website is launching tomorrow. It's going to be huge. We're doing a lot of giveaways through social media. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, or if you follow Daniel Lee, we're doing some pretty cool giveaways from a lot of our sponsors. My Instagram is usually the best way to keep up with what I'm up to. My Instagram is Jules McQueen. And my Facebook is, I think it's Julie McQueen /Brotherhood on Facebook. Well,
the nice thing about the new website, too, is it's something really innovative. it's based around our social and our social lives of following us. And it's just not, Facebook and Instagram. I mean, goodness gracious, you have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And so there's so much on that social side for us. We decided to design a website that you could find all of that in one feed. And it's a really cool design. But then obviously you can go and then follow us, once you've been to the website. But if you want a one feed type deal, that's where this website is really going to shine, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and that's Backstage and Backroads.com, and that'll be up tomorrow, I think, late tomorrow probably.
Yeah.
So but follow us on social media. We're always posting some fun, interesting stuff.
And if you want to watch any of the episodes from Brotherhood Outdoors, you can simply go to brotherhoodoutdoors.tv, and it'll take you to part of the Union Sportsman's Alliance website where you can see everything for the last 4 or 5 seasons through YouTube, and it's pretty cool. You'll get sick of us after a while.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really interested in seeing what you've got on this website. Innovation. That sounds right up my alley. So I'll be paying attention.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's going to be very cool.
Thanks for joining us on the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunting Podcast.
We had a blast.
Yeah.
We
Thanks for
absolutely
having us.
had a blast. And Josh, buddy, thanks for taking time out of your day, man, to call in. It was great hearing your voice, buddy. We love you, pal.
Oh, man, you guys are awesome. I'm glad I got a chance to get to talk to you guys, get to talk to all you guys.
Always
We
a pleasure,
miss you
Josh. Yeah, call anytime. Well, you've got my number.
Well,
excellent. We'll let you guys go. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been it's been a lot of fun. I have to admit, this has been great. I think I laughed harder in that episode than I have in pretty much every episode we've ever done.
I couldn't agree more. What a great time.
I really genuinely had a fantastic time talking to these people. They're just funny. They're not full of themselves. And they're just having fun, and they're making fun of themselves as they go about their daily routine.
What a blast.
A blast.
It was different. I think that's what makes it unique, because it was different.
Yep. And we, that they weren't quite sure where they were in the world because they're running all over the place trying to hunt different things. But there's a serious side to them as well. So, which was nice to hear, but that they can also make fun of themselves is so refreshing, and that they're not taking it all so seriously. It's still just fun.
Yeah, it's amazing that they can travel the world like that, and not with really much of a care of where they're at.
Right.
It's going to a campground. They got a huge monster fifth wheel camper there.
Right.
And they go and they hunt and they hang out, and it's like being at deer camp 24/7.
It's pretty cool. I do like that a lot. And hey, it's always great to hear from Josh Carney. What can you say?
Yeah, Josh is a great individual. If you haven't checked out Josh, go to facebook.com/Son of the South. Josh is he's one great unique character. I'll tell you that.
Yes, he is. They threw away the mold when they made Josh Carney. He's so funny, and just a great hunter. He can call anytime. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh is in a wheelchair. You'd never know it though.
No, not at all.
Great guy, great personality, and loves to hunt.
So much spirit, so energetic. Doesn't let life get him down, and just keeps on rolling. He gets me energized just talking to the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also brings out the photo bomber in you.
Yes, he does. Frequently. Frequently.
Yeah, we definitely got some good photo bombing of Joshua Carney there at the ATA show this past year.
Yep. And fortunately, he understands the comedic side of life. So photo bombing, it doesn't bug him. He just thinks it's funny, which is great, because if he thought it was like mean or something like that, we'd be in trouble, because we do it a lot.
For sure.
Yeah. Great show, my friend. It was just awesome talking to those guys. Always great pleasure talking to you. Do we have a Chubby Tines tip of the week this week?
Yeah, we do, actually. We do.
What you got?
We're getting into spring times here. And these trees are going to be sprouting out some new life. And I like to go out and check out my area, where my tree stands at, and just get a visual on what's happening with the trees and new growth that's coming upon the trees. That way I'm prepared when it comes fall time to go in and cut out my shooting lanes or my area around my tree stand. I want to kind of prepare myself, because there's nothing worse than going in the woods and not being prepared for that limb that grew down in the springtime, in the summer, that you just can't reach with a standard pair of loppers. So you need one of them pole snippers.
Yep.
So, I make frequent trips to my tree stand throughout the early spring, into the early summer, midsummer, and check out the area and know what you're going to need to be able to prep that area for hunting time.
Gotcha. Very, very smart. Very good tip. As always, you always have good tips.
I just try to think ahead, try to talk with everybody that listens to the show like they're one of my hunting buddies, and
right.
We're going to spread the word of what we do.
That's right. Absolutely. Speaking of spreading the word, how can people find you, Dusty, when you're not on the microphone?
Facebook.com/Chubby Gobbler. Turkey season's upon us.
Gobble, gobble.
Facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors. You can send me an email here at dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. Jay, how can the people reach out to you when you're not on the mic?
All right. First, I would invite you to download our new app, which is at bigbuckregistry.com/app. And you can download it and have access to all of our shows. It's its own independent app. So similar to the podcast apps that play all the podcasts, this just plays Big Buck Registry. And it's actually very cool. It's got a lot of bells and whistles on it, and fast forwards, rewinds, great photo images. It's a really cool app. If you haven't checked it out, bigbuckregistry.com/app. If you have a big deer that you shot, you can send in a picture of it from the previous season, bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck, and you'll see all the instructions right there on how to get it featured in front of our 155,000 followers on Facebook. If you would like to email me or Dusty, it's jay@bigbuckregistry.com, dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. Shoot us an email there. You can always give us a call and tell us a quick story or give us some feedback about the show, 724-613-2825. If you have an outdoor product you'd like to get featured in front of our Facebook fans or in this podcast, bigbuckregistry.com/sponsor. You can read about all of the ins and outs of our fan base right there and what to expect with all the downloads and what it might cost you. And you can find us at facebook.com/bigbuckregistry, at twitter.com/bigbuckregistry, or on YouTube, which is youtube.com/bigbuckregistry.
Wowza.
I can breathe.
A whole lot of big buck everywhere.
Big buck. Yes, sir. Well, Dusty, it's been a great show. Thanks for spending another hour with me and with Julie and Daniel Lee Martin. It's been just, those guys just are so colorful, and Josh Carney, of course, filling in and giving us his equivalent of a photobomb, I believe.
A good old photobomb.
Yep. Bombing the show. So always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for everybody tuning in with us for another great show of the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast. I'm Dusty Phillips.
And I'm Jay Scott.
And we'll see you next week
on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast.
Can't wait.